Hey guys, welcome back to QB TV. Today's video I'm going to be showing you how I do my setup for my ball python. Now obviously this is too small for an adult ball python, but this is used a baby ball python telly. Now basically for this video I did a poll on my Instagram recently that asked you guys, would you rather prefer to see my ball python or my boa? And you guys chose the ball python. Now basically in today's video I'm going to be explaining to you what things that you need and what things are extremely crucial to house your ball python husbandry, as some people call it, the official way of calling it. Now the first thing that you're going to need is your enclosure in which you're going to house your ball python in. Now I personally prefer to use bins to house all my snakes in because it just seems easier, it's not as expensive. Some people prefer the glass enclosures or like the tank. Some people prefer the custom made enclosures. Now I personally prefer the bin because when you think of ball pythons, they are a nocturnal species and they're very skittish type of snakes that have to curl up into a little ball if they get scared, and they get frightened pretty easily. And I find that with the bins it makes the snakes feel less exposed and they feel a little more comfortable to move around and whatnot, so they don't feel as exposed. So basically I like to use the bin. Now some of the things that you absolutely need when you're dealing with your ball python is you're going to need a temperature gun, you're going to need your bedding, and you're going to need your heat pad, and you're going to need your heat thermostat. Now basically when you deal with the heat pad goes underneath your bin or underneath your glass enclosure or whatever you have. Now when it comes to ball pythons, it is very important to have a heat pad underneath because, as I said, they're nocturnal, they don't really go out in the sun during the daytime and bask. Now if you have a light on top, if you have a UV light inside your enclosure, that is fine, but that should not be their primary source of heat. Now if you have a heat pad underneath, that makes it feel more natural to them to go into their hide and they can heat up from the bottom up. It is also very important because the heat pad actually helps them with their digestive after they eat. It helps them digest their food more properly. Now when it comes down to the heat pad, these can actually overheat and it can burn the underside of your tub or it can burn your carpet. Now when it also comes down to your heat pad, to avoid that, what you should do is your thermostat. Now your thermostat, it helps prevent your heat pad from either overheating or not being hot enough. Now when you're dealing with your heat pad on your hot side, it should be around 88 degrees for your hot side. And when it goes down to your cool side, it shouldn't fall below somewhere around 75. It shouldn't fall too far below that. Because the reason why you want to have your hot side and your cold side is because your snake needs to be able to thermoregulate. Now snakes are cold-blooded animals, as reptiles are, and they cannot maintain their own body temperature. So you need to have your heat pad on either side, on one side or the other side. And basically, so that way the temperature kind of changes from like a hot, kind of warm to like a cold. So that way if your snake gets too hot, it can move over and cool down. Or if it needs to warm up, it can move over and warm up on the other side. Now that's very important. Now, next thing that you're going to need is your bedding. Is the wrong one? I mean, this bedding. Now, personally, when it comes down to bedding, I like to use a mix of forest floor and aspen, as you saw. Now, some people like to use different things for their bedding. Some people like to use paper towels. Some people like to use forest floors. Some people like to use eco earth. Some people like to use like different things when it comes to the bedding. Me personally, I like to use the forest floor. Now, I use forest floor mainly because it holds in humidity pretty well. It has a nice wood chip, so it has something little something to grasp onto when the snake is moving about. But I also like to use a mix of aspen with my bedding. Now, personally, I would say aspen just for your ball python is not the best way to go. Because aspen can mold, because you obviously have to spray it down and keep it humid in a sense, but aspen can get moldy, it can kind of come together. It's not really the best for your It's not the best for your ball python in general. Oh shit, I got something in my eye. So aspen is not the best aspen is not the best permanently for your ball python, but I like to mix aspen in with my forest floor bedding just because of the fact that when you mix it in, because when you look at the natural habitat of a ball python, they're usually found in termite mounds. Now the air in a termite mound is usually pretty, I would say the air in the termite mound is usually pretty moist, but the ground itself usually isn't that moist because you don't want your environment for your ball python to be too humid, because if you have it too humid, it will cause scale rot, which is not fun for your snake. So I personally prefer to do the aspen mixed with the forest floor because the forest floor holds the humidity in, but at the same time the aspen keeps it from not being like, too humid, but also not too dry. And it actually really helps. For my older ball python, Bruno, I started doing this one for him, and he's been having perfect sheds. I mean, it all comes out in one piece, no problem. and you haven't developed any scale rot, so far it's been working so good. So far so good. Hides for your snake. Now, same thing when it comes down to the hides. Some people like to use the wooden hide. Some people like to just really stuff their shit up with, their enclosures up with things to make the snake feel more comfortable. And I personally prefer to use the plastic tub hides, or like little plastic bins that you just cut a hole in and use as a hide. Now this is not the hide that I use for either my ball python or my other ball python. This is just simply for an example of this video. Now basically when you want to do your hide, if you're going to do like a DIY hide somewhere similar to this, my ball python's hides are actually, my baby ball python's hide is actually made of 2 dog bowls that just took a soldering iron and then just melted the edge out to make a little hole for it. Now for the bigger ball python, it's like a little bit of a bigger tub that you just use, and I just cut it out. Simple, same process, just a little bigger than the other one. Now I like to use the plastic hides because most of my plastic hides are not see-through and it's very dark inside there, and it makes the snake feel more comfortable because you know ball pythons like darker, more enclosed areas. Now, what you don't want to do with the hide is you don't want to go with the hide, say like cardboard or nothing like that, because please remember that you do have to mist down your enclosure, and the cardboard can get like moldy, it can get soggy, it can start to fall apart. So there's just certain things that you simply don't want to use and want to kind of avoid. Now I will be linking down everything in the description box of what I'm using, so that way you can go ahead and go through there and you can purchase it yourself. Now also, just to make sure that you're also going to need is your water bowl. Now with your water bowl, some people like to use like the rocky ones, or I don't want to call them rocky ones, whatever the hell they are made of, but the artificial water bowls that resemble more kind of like a little, it's like a little rock pool. Fuck, I'll just put a picture up. Yeah, so that one, it looks more like a little rock pool, and people like to use those because they say that ball pythons or their snakes in general, it makes it feel more natural, they can grip onto it, drink the water, they won't fall in, it makes them easier for them to get out. Me personally, I've never had a problem with that. My bigger snakes, their water bowls are just like the dog bowls you can buy at the dollar store. And my baby ball python, his water bowl is just simply it's like a little cat dish water bowl, which is like nothing for them to drink out of. Never tipped it over, never drowned, obviously. And none of my snakes ever really tipped over their water bowl, so like I personally don't find a problem with it. So basically that was it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to join Kiwi's Kingdom. And also don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and I will be posting up more things here and there. See you guys on the next one.